Hello, hello, hello. It's not where we start, ladies and gentlemen. It's where we finish. I'm Anthony Gafa, and you're watching Unfiltered with Gafa. We've ticked off a few of the boxes. We've worked out how to get into the property market, the important part of getting the money together. How do you save in a shorter period of time to beat the real estate hype, to beat the real estate prices being inflated right underneath your feet? Now that we've come this far, we've identified we need a property, we've found a property in the right location, the money's ready. A lot of people are confused about when do I do my inspections? And I'm not just talking about an open home. The open homes are free for all. If you've secured a property, you've laid down your deposit, a holding deposit, 0.025%, whatever that number is. What is fair and reasonable? How many times can I go and inspect the property? What if there's a tenant? Will they let me in? If it's owner occupied, are they going to get annoyed? You now need to understand this is a big commitment. You need to do whatever you need to do. This is your story now. This is your property. This is your journey. You need to be, I wouldn't say ruthless, but you need to lay down the law and get what you need out of this property. So we've mentioned that the open houses are now shut off because it's your property. Well, you're on the way. There is still some get out clauses. You've committed to a 5-day cooling off period, a business days. So 5 business days of a cooling off period, depending on how you purchased it. You may get your cooling off period extended to 10 days, 10 business days. If you're going to an auction, you need to inform your conveyancer that, hey, I'm going to need a little bit more time to get a few little things across the line here. I need a 10-day cooling off period. So when you are bidding at auction, the vendor knows and the vendor has agreed through their conveyancer. That's okay. I'm okay to have one of the buyers or potential buyers have a 10-day cooling off period. Whatever those changes are within that agreement, you need to ensure your conveyancer negotiates prior to putting your hand up at the auction or prior to agreeing on terms if you need a 5-day cooling off period or a 10-day cooling off period. Because if you're buying a property that's at FAR or there's a few things wrong and you need to carry out some additional inspections, whether it's a building inspection, a pest inspection, the property may be partially flood affected and it's not standard finance. There are so many different variables that can lead you to asking for an extended cooling off period. Different to the settlement period. So you've put your hand up at auction or you've purchased the property, whether it's through a buyer's agent or you've bought it direct, whatever that looks like, you've agreed to a standard 5-day cooling off period, but you need a bit more time. Typically, the conveyancer will give you an extension of time. It's not mandatory, but they will give you an extension of time because it's in their best interest to have that property sold and not hit the market and then have you ask for an extended cooling off period and then it hits the market again. That definitely raises red flags for the vendor. You don't want a property to be sold and then that deal falls over, gets back on the market, because I know if I'm buying, my question is, why did this property fall over? Why did the deal fall over from the purchaser that recently put their hand up at that auction? What happened? There's something wrong with this property. Has it got white ants? Did the pest and building fail? So it's not a good look for a property, especially properties that are valued at such a high amount. Okay, we've gotten past that cooling off period. You're now into say it's a standard 6-week settlement. You're well within that standard settlement period because your 5 days are gone, your extended cooling off period's gone, so you're a couple of weeks in now. What does that mean? Am I fixed to that date of settlement? In accordance with the contract, yes. But you can extend a settlement date. What a lot of people are doing this day and age, not mentioning any names, but if you have an agreed time frame on when that property is going to settle, when you go through and do your inspections and you've got a few things that need to be addressed, whether it's there's rubbish out the back or there's a pool table that still needs to be removed, 6 holes in the wall that the tenant made and they've agreed to fix them, whatever that is. They were going to give you a vacant possession, but the tenant's still there. So many different things. There's rubbish that hasn't been removed in some of the furniture, whatever. When it comes to your final inspection before settlement, so you've exchanged already, but before settlement, that's still your little window for a final negotiation. A lot of people don't know that. I don't think I've ever bought a property where I haven't used that final day before settlement to go to the vendor and say, you know what? You said this was going to be totally vacant. You said it was going to be clean. You didn't tell me there was going to be that trailer out the back. You identified in the contract that there was going to be a clear possession. Now, what does that mean? There's some stuff in the roof in the garage. There's some stuff stored under the house. The shed that wasn't bolted down was supposed to go. There's a few things that needed to be done, whether it's a safety check for the switchboard, whatever those agreements were. If they're not done, this is a good opportunity for an astute buyer to go in there. I'm not saying to f them over, but what's fair? What's reasonable? You're the one that's being inconvenienced. That's when you lay the cards on the table. That's going to cost me a couple of grand there. That's going to cost me $3,000 there. Removing that stuff. So it might be a $10,000 job. You can say to the vendor, you've got till 5 o'clock this afternoon to remove all that stuff. And we're going to delay the settlement. Or I'm happy to take the rubbish, do it myself, but I want $10,000 off the final price. It's not unethical. It's not being ruthless. It's simply making the vendor abide by the rules and the agreement that you had in place. There were some rules set out. There was an agreement set out. So why wouldn't you use that to your advantage? They may say if we delay the settlement, we're going to incur some interest. Like you as the buyer is going to incur some interest. Well, no, it's not fair and reasonable. Don't agree to the interest because the settlement is being delayed because of the vendor. A lot of the time you'll see your request will be met. You might be asking for $10,000 for a $5,000 fix. But if you're buying a property that's worth $600,000, $1 million, or $5 million, nobody wants to see a settlement be delayed. Nobody wants to see a settlement delayed due to an insignificant amount. So that's your final chance to negotiate on that final price. So it's not deemed to be unethical. You haven't done anything wrong. In accordance with the contract, they haven't done their bit. So don't be afraid to ask for what it's worth to remove that rubbish or to get the agreement in place because you'll be doing it yourself. That may mean there's going to be a delay in getting a tenant in that property, or there's going to be a delay for you to move in, or you need to organise contractors. That could take a couple of weeks. So be sure to put your figure down, and my advice is don't underestimate the cost, overestimate the cost, because if their conveyance is doing the right thing, they'll come back and make a counter offer. But remember, you definitely are in the hot seat here. You don't have to accept the counter offer. You can delay the settlement, which is going to save you interest on the property. And if I just take round figures, if you're buying a property for $2 million and you're borrowing the whole amount, because whether you're borrowing the whole amount or you've got a deposit, you still need to account for the entire amount. Now, at 7% interest, or thereabouts, plus some other fees and charges. If you buy a property for $2 million, it's $140,000 a year in interest on the whole amount, roughly. That divided by 52 weeks times 2 weeks, you're saving about $5,000 in interest alone. Just think of it like that. By delaying a settlement, you're saving interest. By delaying a settlement, you're also ensuring the property is delivered in a way you agreed. If not, show me the money. Let them put some money on the table. Listen to counteroffers, but you don't have to accept them. Put your figure on the table and get that property settled just the way it was supposed to be done. Be sure to follow me on I am Anthony Gafa on all my socials, and my podcasts can be viewed on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcast, and all leading podcast platforms.